Hello, football fans, and welcome to the View from the Sidelines Summer Special. Coming up in today's episode, we'll be taking a look at all the major talking points from the summer so far, including Frank Lampard making a return to Chelsea, Eden Hazard finally completing his long-awaited move to Madrid, and what next for Pogba in what's turning out to be the transfer story of the summer. As well as this, we'll be looking back at some of the action from the Women's World Cup and giving you an update on what's coming up for us next season. There's lots to talk about, so here we go.
Hello everyone and welcome to this summer special edition of View from the Sideline podcast. It's Chris here and Rich is here as always.
Hi Chris, how you doing?
Not too bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, good to be back. Good to be back for a midsummer break to come back and do a summer special.
It's been a while. I think must at least a month. Is it 5 weeks? I think since we last did one. So
it's been a while.
Get back into the swing of things. So we've got a few things that we're going to go through today. But most importantly, Rich, what have you been up to this summer since we last spoke?
I've been prepping for this summer special podcast, Chris. That's exactly what I've been doing. I've been
glued to Sky Sports News.
Yeah, I've been swatting up on my transfer gossip and predictions for next season. No, but joking aside, just the usual, mate. Really, family stuff. Working. Just because the podcast has stopped, normal life carries on.
we don't actually get like 3 months off.
No, we don't. Not of our normal lives, anyway. No, just from the podcast. What about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Just spending time with the family and working. Really, it's not a lot of football's been on, so I haven't really watched too much football. But the women's World Cup filled a slight void in that. But
good. I think we'll have a chat about that later.
Yeah. Good anyway, have you got a teaser for us, Rich?
Yes, we do. So we've got Pete's back.
He's not taking the
summer break. Yeah. No, I think he's been working hard at getting some teasers together. So a relevant one, quite a good one. So Norwich, Sheffield United and Aston Villa all make their return to the Premier League next season. But can you name the manager at each club the last time they were relegated from the top flight? So I've got the years. So Norwich was 2015-16, as was Aston Villa, and Sheffield United was 06-07. We should get the Villa one because there's 4. Actually, 4 managers they had that season, so we just need to get one of them. Yeah, so
they went down the same. So they went down the same season as Norwich, and they've come back up.
Yes,
3 seasons later.
Yes, yeah. I'm not sure on the positionings, but yeah, it was the same year. Yeah. I think I've got an idea for Norwich and Sheffield United. Villa, I'm not too sure on, but we may have to.
Sheffield United was a long time ago.
It was
12, 13 years ago.
Yeah, but we'll have to put our heads together. Brush away the cobwebs.
So we have lined up a few topics to go through. I think the biggest one. I think I'll just start with it. The Chelsea saga. Should we start with Chelsea? Start with Chelsea.
Why not, Chris? Why not?
Obviously, since we last spoke, as expected, Sarri has left the club. But
are you surprised he went to Juventus? Are you surprised that? Because he didn't have a great year, did he?
Not surprised he's gone back to Italy. I think most people will probably be surprised that he actually left the club rather than getting sacked. But I think all in all, when you look back on it, he won the Europa League, managed to actually get us in the Champions League this season. That's not. I wouldn't say that's a bad season. I'd say it's probably what was probably expected of him to win at least a trophy and to get us in the Champions League. So I personally feel he probably met the club's objectives, but I think it was he wanted to go back to Italy, and you can't get much bigger than Juventus. So,
No, I agree. I mean, I think is it the last couple of days? I think Zola's come out and said that I don't know if Zola's going with him. I'm not sure about his back.
Zola's left. Well, he's left Chelsea.
Left Chelsea.
Yeah, he has
but
left Chelsea.
I know he said I think it's this week that Sarri tends to get going in the second year that he's at a club, so he feels that he left Chelsea a bit early.
Yeah.
I just kind of feel from the sort of respect level, and I'm not saying that he didn't have a decent season because I think he did, but there was a lot of stuff going on around losing the dressing room and the whole being in the cup final and stuff. And I just think Juventus is such a massive side, like Ronaldo's there, of course, and I think there was a little bit of a surprise on my part that he's gone there. Maybe if he'd gone to like a Lazio or a Napoli, or maybe even like Inter or Milan, maybe. But Juventus was a little bit of a surprise. But
I know the thing is for him now at Juventus is the expectation for Juventus is probably a lot higher than what it was at Chelsea. Obviously,
it's huge.
They should be winning the league.
Well, they're going to win the league, but I mean, they're off. I mean, if you sort of reading the press and stuff, they're on the verge of signing De Ligt from Ajax and stuff. So they've got some quality players, and they're making some moves in the transfer market. But I suppose he's got a decent reputation over in Italy. So maybe
and obviously incoming. Obviously, I think 95% of people probably guessed it right that Lampard's obviously now come into the club. I know me and you have pretty much spoken daily about this piece of news. So
I think we I mean, we did a poll on Instagram, and the outcome was that it wasn't a great move. I mean, I just give you my view on it quickly, Chris, just to because I feel that it's your club. He's your hero. I think it's only fair that you get a chance to talk about him. I just cannot help but feel that if there was no transfer ban on at Chelsea, he would not have been considered. And I just think there's an element of, because Chelsea are kind of going into the unknown this season. They've lost Hazard. Yeah, Pulisic is coming in. They've made, what's the guy's name? They've just signed permanently.
Kovacic.
Yeah. Who, I mean, he didn't pull up any trees last year. There's not going to be that marquee signing that's going to push Chelsea to challenge for the title, and there's got to be an element that you're not too sure how their season's going to go. But with Lampard as manager, they could pretty much be in a relegation battle all season, and I don't think the fans would turn on him. And I just can't help but think that if there was no ban, that he wouldn't go in there. He wouldn't have got the job.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I like him. I liked him as a player. I just think it's so un-Abramovich to bring someone in that's got so little managerial experience. Every manager I think he's ever hired has got an amazing.
Well, to be honest with you, before Lampard, you're probably looking at Mourinho in his first. Obviously, he had just won the Champions League with Porto, but he was probably, he wasn't that well heard of when obviously Chelsea brought him in, and he was Abramovich's pretty much first signing as a manager.
Yeah, but he'd won the Champions League with Porto.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Lampard had one season with Derby and got to the playoff final and didn't secure promotion. I don't want to sound critical, but there's just a little bit of me that isn't convinced on it.
Okay, well,
and the jury's out.
It's a difficult one because I agree with some of the things, like the bit about the transfer ban. If we weren't under a transfer ban, I probably don't think we would have hired him. But then you look at who else would you? I know Mourinho was touted to come back, but do you go down that road again? But with the transfer ban and with the staff that he's brought in, I think that he could make this. We're not going to win the league. Let's face it. I still think that will probably be a 2-horse race. But
But what's the expectation?
So I'd say the expectation is exactly the expectation that they probably put on Surrey last season, a cut and top 4.
Yeah. So I think if Chelsea were to achieve next year what they've done this year with Lampard as manager, I think that's a successful season. But what if they don't?
Yeah.
What if they don't? I mean, is he going to go the same way as other managers? And look at Solskjaer at United. It was all roses to start with, but then a couple of bad results, and then sort of the fans start to turn. I don't think they're necessarily turning on the manager, but they're turning on the board and sort of the club. And I just wonder whether
it's a hard one because, like we've discussed before, this is the appointment of him is, it's bringing back, one of the legend players that we had, and I think it'd be very hard to turn on him if we were under a bad spell.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I don't blame him for going at all.
No,
it's an absolute no-brainer, and time will tell. And they're I'll probably be proved wrong, but it's just sort of the way I see it at the moment. And it's just against the grain of everything they've done past sort of 10, 15 years.
And sort of now, I think obviously we've got 35 players come back from loans. Some have sifted out already, some have gone back out on loan. But does he keep the key? The Batshuayis, the Bakayokus, do they get a looking? Because
Bakayoko was awful. I mean, I've read a rumor that United apparently after. Yeah, he was terrible.
In Lampard's first press conference the other day, he mentioned that every player at the club is on a clean slate now. It doesn't matter if they're out on loan, doesn't matter if they're in the under 23s, doesn't matter if they're a first team regular. Everyone is on that clean slate, and he's going to give everyone opportunity. They got their first friendly tomorrow night. We probably won't get much from that, and he'll probably be, going around different sort of tactics to see how he wants them to play. But literally now, the players he's got there are the players that he's going to, have come start the season, because there's going to be no one else coming in.
No, so, I mean, he's saying the right things about promoting and putting his faith in youth and stuff. But I mean, to be honest, slightly skeptical. He's got no choice. He's got no choice. That's what I mean.
He doesn't. He's going to have to, because we've got the league cup, FA Cup, the Super Cup, the Champions League. All these games, they're going to add up, and at some point, especially when you look around Christmas, when you're playing literally every 3 days or so, he's going to have to rely on unproven players in the Premier League at some point. So, like you said,
but we'll see. We'll see.
With it, and next time we do a podcast, they would have played Man United, and they'll be probably in the halfway through the Super Cup against Liverpool. So time will tell. So
no, absolutely. Time
and obviously, Hazard's gone now. That's been we last spoke. It was always on the cards. I think not.
I think that's obviously the biggest transfer of the summer so far. But I don't think it was a surprise to anybody.
No.
I don't even think sort of Lampard coming in would have sort of changed his mind.
No.
Really. So that was always going to happen. So that's a big one. I think the other big news for me, and I know we've touched on this briefly outside of the pod as well, was Benitez leaving Newcastle. I think we saw it coming, but still, maybe we didn't. I don't blame him at all.
No. From how he's been treated, like he is one of the top managers that Newcastle are going to. They're not going to be able to replace him. I don't think with someone more experienced. It just baffles me. Like the whole situation at the club with the takeover. Is it happening? Is it not happening? They should have done everything possible to keep him there. And if it was down to, I don't think it was even down to money. It was probably more to do with the transfers and stuff. Like he needed that money because they are a good Newcastle are a good side. Like second half of last season, you know, their performances. That I think they have like one of the top 5 points from in the second half of the season or something. So you look at that. You know, if he was to bring in a couple of players, you know, I'm not saying world class players, but players that he wants, he could really do something with that team. And I just feel it's going to be a huge loss. And you know, they've let Perez go as well, which is
I mean that was going to be. I mean they've the rumours are that they've been trying to get hold of Steven Gerrard to come in. But by all accounts he's refused it, and I could.
I don't blame him.
No, I don't at all, and I think that was always going to be the case. Perez leaving is a strange one for me. The only thing that may be behind that is that they're trying to raise funds to sort of bring some players in. But I think he was always going to go because I think the whole takeover thing. Who knows what goes in my head? And he's so successful as a businessman that he's going to do what he wants and what he probably feels is right. Whether he's got the interests of his sort of bank balance or the club as a priority.
Have you heard
it is up for debate?
Managers linked to the club though? Are they? I don't think I've literally been on there and seen other than Gerrard. But
no, the only one that I've heard of is Gerrard. I mean, I don't know who else would go. I mean, I don't know any sort of big, well-known names that are sort of enticed to go there. To be honest, not from a perspective where the club isn't appealing. I think it's because the setup of the club maybe is not appealing.
Yeah. The thing is, like, if you're if he brings you in and they then sort the takeover out, you know, is your job at risk with new owners? You know, you just don't. You know, so whether they're just waiting for it all to be finalised, but this has been going on far too long now. You know, it must be so frustrating as a Newcastle fan to. You know, listen to all this over the summer, and I think for some of them, I think Perez going is probably the icing on the cake. To be honest with you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd say he was one of sort of better players last year. So I've just had a look. So Newcastle next manager. So Steve Bruce, his favourite, and no disrespect to Steve Bruce, but he's just gone to Sheffield Wednesday, and he's sort of the middle of last season. He's not on the same level as Benitez. So you've got Steve Bruce, Mikel Arteta, Chris Wilder, then Mourinho. They're both at 10-1. Van Bronckhorst, I didn't even know he was managing. Martinez. Then you're sort of going out to 20-1s. You've got David Moyes is a good shout. Gary Monk, Sean Dyche, Kevin Nolan maybe, but
Gary Monk. God, he's been he's been everywhere.
just to finish up on this topic, what do you think about where Benitez has gone? He's gone to like a mid-table Chinese club.
He didn't leave it very long, did he? He's got
China, and I almost think is that sort of like a short payday for like a season and a bit, and then he's going to come back. I mean,
most probably.
It's Dalian Yingfang. I don't know if I pronounced that properly. Probably not. But
we haven't got any fans of that club listening because we haven't anymore.
Well, no more.
We've lost them.
I mean, 3-1. They got a 3-1 win in his first game, but I won't even pronounce the team they played. But I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't seem right to me. But anyway, a loss to the Premier League, in my opinion, and certainly a loss to Newcastle.
Yeah. So Women's World Cup, Rich.
Yes.
What's your
So
take?
we'll talk on the Women's World Cup a bit, and then we'll just go through some transfers that sort of are on the cards. I'd like to talk about Spurs' 2 new signings at some point.
Actually signed someone, Rich.
Yeah, 2 players. Yeah, lots to talk about.
Yeah.
Women's World Cup. So, personally, and I don't want it to sound like I'm degrading the women's game at all, because I wasn't.
Here we go.
And I'm not. But I didn't watch an awful lot of the group stages.
No,
I kind of got interested in it when it got to the knockouts. I did see a bit of the England-Japan game, but USA v England, what a game that was.
Oh yeah.
I think for any football fan, regardless of what gender you are, or whether you follow women's football or anything like that, just what a spectacle as football games go. And all 3 goals were so good.
Headers as well, weren't they?
They were such good goals, and England was so unlucky with the VAR. The VAR decision. Well, the penalty, I mean, that was a bit of a farce, I think. But it was the right decision.
Yeah.
The offside goal, I mean, I don't know. In my view,
it
was too. Yeah, well,
get used to it, mate.
It was too close to call, and then Steph Houghton missing the penalty. I felt so sorry for her.
Yeah,
because she played so well in the games.
I thought she was probably their best player. I think in the tournament, I think she had really good.
She was so good, but they can absolutely hold their heads high.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The 3rd place. I mean, no one's interested in a 3rd place. So I think
Did you even watch England Belgium at the World Cup, the 3rd place game?
No, not really. I didn't go out of my way to watch it, and I don't think that. I mean, it's interesting how it's worked that England ladies have now qualified for the Olympics. I think it's from being one of the top 4 teams, European teams in the World Cup. So obviously, as soon as they got to the semi-finals, because the United States were one of the teams, that they got this qualification to the Olympics, which I think is a really good thing.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I personally think they deserve to beat America, and America are the all-conquering team when it comes to women's football. And 3rd or 4th, win, lose or draw that game in the 3rd or 4th playoff, I think they can hold their heads high. And the fact that they ended up finishing 4th, I don't think is here or there really, because it's a bit of a dead rubber.
Yeah.
No one's overly interested in it,
good.
I don't think. So
it was good to see the viewing figures that the BBC released. I think every game they got further on in the competition, there was more and more people watching it.
I think it was the most watched TV show of the year so far. So,
and I think this season as well, their WSL season, they're going to be showing more live games as well. And I know Chelsea's first women's game is actually at Stamford Bridge, and it's free to go as well. So
yeah, but they're doing double headers, aren't they? Yeah, so they're doing double headers. I think it's either before or after the men's game. So a lot of teams are doing it. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, a great spectacle. The whole sort of gender pay issues sort of come up again, which I don't know. I don't know enough about the sort of the women's game to sort of comment on it really. But I mean, I think there's probably definitely an argument to be had. Especially, I think there's a stat that says the female American team actually bring in more money than the males, and obviously the men's US team didn't even qualify for the World Cup, and the women are winning it consistently. So I mean, I think there's definitely an argument, but maybe not something I'd get involved in. But overall, a great spectacle, and it's certainly something that, like, when I'm assuming they have a European Championships or the next World Cup comes,
I guess so, yeah.
I will I'll certainly make more of an effort to make sure.
Certainly fills a void while the season's over, and especially because it's on a non. So obviously England men's team aren't playing in the World Cup or in the Euros. So
Yeah, no, it's,
yeah.
I was going to say it was almost been a summer free football so far, but not with that tournament. You can't sort of ignore it.
Okay, right. So a few of the other transfers. I will let you talk about Tottenham in a second. I've just got to say one thing about Aston Villa.
Are you going to talk about Tyrone Mings?
Just in general, the players that they've brought in. Okay, so you look at Fulham. Obviously last season, brought in all these players. Then they end up having a bit of a shambles of a season, even though they brought in all these players. But Villa have obviously just signed Tyrone Mings. They've signed El Ghazi and they've signed Courtney House as well. And those three players were on loan with them last season. So I was just going to say, do you think that teams have looked at how Fulham managed themselves and Villa have gone, well, if we stick with fairly the same sort of team, we might give ourselves a good chance. And by signing those three players, I actually think that's quite good what they've done now. I know they've signed another guy called Wesley, a striker as well. But yeah, I just thought that in comparison to Fulham,
I think I think there's a different angle to it, to be honest. So my comment about Tyrone Mings was that I think the price that I've read of sort of 26, 27 million seems very high for him. Almost to the sort of I was having a chat with a guy I work with who's a Villa fan, and basically said it's almost the pitfall of getting promoted. If Villa hadn't got promoted, you could probably sort of take 10 million off that transfer fee. It seems a lot.
It might be high, but the point I was trying to make was that they've kind of they're trying to stick with the same team, and I was just thought maybe it was because
part two of my theory would be that they're working to completely different budgets, I'd imagine. Fulham's owner is he's got an awful lot of money, and it's almost like he was throwing money at it by getting a little bit carried away by getting promoted to the Premier League. I don't think Villa have got that sort of finance or that sort of backing behind them where they could go out and do the same thing. But absolutely, I agree with what you're saying. There is going to be that feeling that we can't do what Fulham did because it clearly doesn't work, or it didn't work for them. Therefore, we don't think it will work for us. But I think as a promoted team, I don't think there'll be a team for a while that's promoted that has that sort of backing that Fulham had to go out and do what they did.
So I'll let you talk about Tottenham now, Rich, because it's probably a very, very long time since you actually spoke about them signing someone.
It was Lucas Moura, yeah. So
Ndombele.
Ndombele. So 65 million. I mean, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for Spurs, proven by the fact that it sort of smashed their transfer record. But the more I look at this guy, the more I like him. So he's been labelled as the new Michael Essien, which isn't a bad tag, really.
I've heard he's a poor man's Cantley.
Well, he's also come out and said he's his own player because a lot of people are referring to him as being the next Pogba. But we'll see. One of the reasons I like him, I think he's going to sit in well with Sissoko in the middle of the Spurs midfield. I think it pretty much spells the end for Wanyama.
I'm surprised he hasn't gone yet, but is he away with? Is he been away in the?
Well, I think he has been at the African Cup of Nations. Obviously, it kind of steps on Eric Dyer's toes a little bit. I hope he doesn't go. I mean, there's rumours about him going to United and other clubs being in for him, but I think he's versatile and he's he's a quality player, so I hope Spurs don't sell him. But the trouble is, if you go out and spend 65 million on someone, they're going to play.
Definitely going to play.
So there's not a lot you can do about that. But I mean, he looks a decent player. I mean, he's not necessarily a goal scorer. I don't think he got any goals last year, but he did get a few assists. He's very much a box to box midfielder, and I do think he gives. Well, yeah, I mean, he's a French international. I mean, he's only got 6 caps, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And interesting thing about him, maybe there is a sort of comparison to Conte, but 5 years ago, I think he was in the 5th tier of French football.
There you go.
And then sort of he's obviously gone up to the top division, and now
I've seen him play against PSG last season on BT, and he had a good game actually.
The more I see of him, the more he does look good, and I'll be interested to see how he fits in. So a good signing for Spurs. Obviously, the other one, Jack Clark.
He's gone back. He went back to Leeds, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming it was part of the deal. Like, you can have him, but we'll have him back for a year. I'm surprised at that, really, because it just seems similar to Dele Alli when we signed him from MK Dons, and no one really expected him to do anything. But Jack Clark looks a really good player. I mean, he played 24 games for Leeds last year in what is probably one of the toughest divisions in European football. Couple of goals, couple of assists. And I think that obviously with Spurs being back in the Champions League next year, I think he would get game time off the bench. He would get game time in cup competition. Yeah. So I'm surprised. And 18 isn't young really in football, not necessarily being that young. So I don't know, maybe it was a deal breaker as to say, well, we'll only let him go if you loan him back. I don't know, but I was a little bit surprised that we ended up sending him back. But a really good two really good signings for Spurs.
Speaking of good signings, there was one that's gone through in the last couple of days. Leicester City signing Tielemans.
Yeah, that's a good to get him permanent. He was good for them last year.
They will make money on him as well, because he is he's a good player, and I think if he stays at Leicester for a couple of seasons, I think a lot of other clubs will be interested in him. From what I saw last season, anyway, I thought he was really good. And obviously, they've signed Perez as well, so they've definitely, I would say, strengthened. Obviously, Tielemans was there anyway, but
it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I've got a list here, Chris. I'll just run through them just to get your thoughts on them. Just quickly. So Pogba to Madrid. Yes or no? Will it happen?
No.
You think he'll stay at United?
I think they'll end up staying. Yeah.
Okay.
He's after more money. I just think that's all it is.
How much more money do you need?
Exactly. The thing with Pogba now is he's in a good place because he's got 2 years left on his contract, so he knows if they want to get big money for him back, they're going to have to sell him either this window or in January, because come next summer he'll only have a year left on that contract, and teams like Real Madrid won't pay anywhere near what they were going to pay this season for him. So they have to really start weighing up the options, because this isn't, I don't, I'm saying this, I don't know Pogba, but for me, he looks like the type that would very easily just run his contract down and just go for free.
Do you not think, from a player power perspective, that he's going to go?
I said earlier that he's holding a lot of cards, but I think this is going to be down to Man United and how much they want. How much do you think they could get for him now?
I mean, I think he would go for more than what they paid for him.
Yeah, I think if they sold him now, or in January, they will probably make 20-30 million on him.
No,
I
not
would
in January. I don't think in January. I think if he doesn't go in the summer, I don't think he goes.
I'd say about 120 million at the moment is probably a fair price for him.
Yeah, I mean he's mid
Because I know
20s,
he's
isn't he?
he's not lit up the Premier League that much, but I think in the right team he would be the world class player that Man United want him to
Yeah,
be. But
no,
like you
I
said,
agree.
in January it's going to go down a bit more, but then come next summer they will be pushing their luck to make money and even break even on him. I
I think he
personally,
I
if I was
think
Man
he
United, I'd sell
goes.
him, but it's whether he's probably got one of the best agents you can have in football in regards to getting a transfer away from the club. But again, players hold too many cards in this day and age, don't they? It's all about player power. So, but it's
I
whether
think
Real
he'll
Madrid
go.
can Real Madrid. I know they can afford him, but with fair play regulations, they've already spent in excess of probably 300 million on players. Can they afford another 120 odd million, or
Well, I mean,
do they
the,
sweeten the deal with say like is 40 million in Gareth Bale? But would Man United take that? It's hard to
well, no.
say.
So, I mean, I read today that the offer, if they were going to throw Bale in, would be about 70 million and Bale. But Rodriguez is on the verge of signing for Napoli. I mean, Spurs are being linked with Asensio and Danny Carvajal and people like that. So I think there's a bit of a, if you want players at Madrid, I think you can go and get them. Personally, I think Solskjaer wants to keep Pogba, but I think if you look at it from the overall perspective of the club and the team, I think he will go, and I think that's probably the right decision. I mean, I know it's only reports in the press, but there's reports of like friction with other players, and I mean, he's made no secret that he wants to go. I think he will go personally.
And do you think they'll be able to replace him with a world-class midfielder, or do you think they will struggle to find anyone?
No, I think they can replace him. I mean, I know like Herrera's gone as well, isn't he? At United, he's gone to PSG. But I mean, there's players out there. I mean, if I was United, that and knowing that, well, I'm assuming that they know that Madrid want Pogba. I would, I would be trying to get someone from their side. I mean, Asensio is a good player. I mean, but there
Definitely.
isn't really another Pogba. But I mean, my next transfer was going to be Eriksen. So he's sort of put his cards on the table with Spurs and said that he wants to leave. Now, the Pogba deal seems to be a bit of a sort of almost a pivot for this for the Eriksen deal. So
Mm.
if you're Madrid, you're getting one or the other. I think Pogba's first
How
choice,
much?
Eriksen is second. But if Pogba was to go, and I would, if Eriksen's going to go, I'd rather see him go abroad. I wouldn't. I'd just, I think that's the way you feel about your players, isn't it?
Yeah,
You'd
yeah,
rather they
yeah,
go abroad.
yeah.
I could see United going for Eriksen if they lost
Oh
Pogba.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think one may sit into the other. Obviously, one deal that's already been done is Wan-Bissaka to United.
Good signing, but
I think
again, I
that's a
think
good sign, and
overpaid slightly, I'd say. But
yeah, it's a lot of money.
got
It's an awful lot of money for him, considering he's had sort of like one good season. He's had a poor year under 21 Euros for England. So next, so I'm going to say Pogba's going to go to Madrid and Eriksen will leave Spurs, but I don't know where Eriksen will go. Harry Maguire to either City or United. It looks like United are the favourites now, but 90 million.
no, just no.
What, you don't think he'll go, or he's not worth
No,
90?
it'll go, but it ain't worth no end than 90 million, mate. I'm telling you that now.
No.
That's
What if Van Dijk?
ridiculous.
Van Dijk went for 70 odd, so
If they,
it would make him the most expensive defender in history.
that's just ridiculous. 50 million tops for Maguire, and that is pushing it at that. He's not that great. But if they want him,
If I'm United and I can get Maguire and Alderweireld for 75, 80 million, I'd be doing it.
oh yeah,
I think that'd be a decent centre back pairing. a bit from left field, Trippier to Juventus. Seems on the cards. It seems like it's going to happen. I mean,
he was one of the players you said you didn't mind. Was it him or yeah? It was.
Trippier was one of the ones that I said I wouldn't mind. I mean,
yeah.
Obviously we got Serge Aurier right back, as well, and Walker Peters. I think Trippier's better than them both. If he goes, we've got to replace him. But I like him. He hasn't lived up to expectations since the World Cup. Juventus is a strange destination for him, I think, but Sarri's obviously seen something in him. One that I think will probably happen, I don't know what you think, Lukaku to Inter.
I think he'll go.
They're just trying to recoup as much as they can. Such a shame. He promised so much.
Yeah,
but it just hasn't delivered.
It's a shame, really, because I'd still take him at Chelsea. I think he'd fit in at Chelsea a lot better than what he has done at Man United. I just think we need someone strong up front, and I just think
you've got transfer ban, Chris. Don't torture yourself about buying players because it ain't gonna happen.
I haven't watched Sky Sports News in about 5 days.
Maybe that's why Lampard's gone back, because I guess he could still play. Yeah, maybe something to think about.
What about Costa to Everton?
Oh, that's a statement signing, but on that, so no on that. But the other one that I've seen linked to Everton is Ken at Juventus, the young Italian striker.
Oh, yeah, I've seen him. Yeah.
I think he's the guy he's scored in like X amount of consecutive games for Italy since making his debut. But the price I saw was 30 million, which I just find crazy. From what I've seen of him, he is worth a lot more than that. If Tyrone Mings is worth 26, this guy's worth 50, 60 at least. No, I don't see that happening personally. I don't know why he would. He's at Atletico Madrid. I mean, Griezmann's going. He's going to be like the number one guy. Torres has gone. I don't know why he would. I don't know.
Just quickly, the two guys at City have signed Angelino and Rodri. Two very good young players that they've signed. Angelino is probably one of the most exciting left backs I think there is in the world at the moment.
They don't need any more good players.
They're just stacking them.
Strengthened them. Yeah,
it's weird though because he's obviously left back and they've obviously got Mendy already, and I know he's been out injured a lot. So whether that spells the end for him, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I mean, they're for the future. I think maybe their age and stuff. I mean, they'll get game time, but they're maybe not for straight away. I don't know. We'll see. They both look good players, though. Zaha to Arsenal.
Not if they don't pay the money that the Palace.
Well, they're sort of.
Fancy going in for half the money.
Well, Arsenal are apparently on a £40 million budget, and Palace want 80. I know we did say in one of the podcasts towards the end of last season that Palace had come out and said they didn't want to sell both of them, but obviously Wan-Bissaka's gone, so if they're going to stick by that, Zaha's going nowhere. But I can see him going. I'd be gutted if he went to Arsenal, to be honest. That's probably the one team I wouldn't want him to go to.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's that good that he could make a real difference.
They ain't going to let him go for 40 million anyway. So
no, I don't think they will. One that sort of cropped, but it's been there even sort of last summer, but it's come back up again. Is Sessegnon to Spurs? For me, that would be a good signing. They're talking about 20 to 25 million. I think he's another player that can sort of play in a variety of positions. Maybe if Trippier was to go, I know he's I think he's more of a left-sided player, but
yeah,
if he could adapt to the right, I mean, I've been pretty consistent in saying that I like Danny Rose and I'd like him to stay at Spurs. But if he was to go, then I think Sessegnon's a good replacement. He's had that season in the Premier League, which I think would be a good thing. So I think that would be a good signing for Spurs. I mean, there's loads of other transfers out there, isn't there? Really, but I mean, there's different players linked to different clubs. Obviously, you've got Griezmann to Barcelona looks pretty much a done deal in the next week or so, and obviously
something dodgy about that one.
Well, yeah, it does look that way. Well, we're coming into the sort of time where pre-season friendlies are sort of coming thick and fast.
Chelsea start tomorrow, so away to Bohemians.
But I think that's kind of maybe when managers see what they've got in a bit more detail, and maybe if there's anything they want to push through.
Chelsea, mate.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's a bit awkward.
Do you want a little bit of a Yeovil update? I have news.
Why not?
Have
we got the date for our Eastleigh trip?
Yeah, I haven't got it on me because it's literally about 6 games from the end of the season.
Oh, okay. That's something to look forward to.
Oh yeah, long time.
To look forward to. Okay, yeah. So this will be part of our non-league update for next season. Brand new feature.
New National League team, Yeovil, not played in that league for about 16 years. So
how exciting! We're keeping grassroots alive.
Yeah, I can't even remember if they wouldn't have. Last podcast they wouldn't have had a manager, would they? So the takeover is pretty much done. Not the American billionaire that everyone was hoping for, but can't win them all.
Beggars can't be choosers, Chris.
Yeah. So they brought in as manager Darren Saul. Not huge history in management. Last probably big team that you've heard of he managed was Stevenage a couple of seasons ago.
There's something I never thought I would hear: big team and Stevenage in the same sentence.
So yeah. Again, this is going to be a learning experience for everyone at the club. Moving further down the league. But people they've brought in: Lee Collins, a centre back from Forest Green. Reece Murphy, who is a striker who was at Chelmsford last season, scored 30-odd goals for them. Ex-Arsenal player as well. Luke Wilkinson, who is a centre-back who played under Saul at Stevenage, who's come in. And Andrew Crofts, who is an experienced Welsh centre midfielder who's signed from Newport. Or that there is probably more people to come in because they had a friendly on Saturday.
Are these on loan, Chris?
No,
these are permanent deals.
They're all free. And there were quite a few trialists on the team sheet on Saturday. So that I think they have signed another one from Stratford, who they played in a friendly on Saturday. So I think they've signed one of their players as well. So yeah. Fixture-wise for them, opening game of the season is away to Barnet. First home game is a midweek game against Eastleigh. So they actually play Eastleigh's second game of the season. And then the game after that against Barrow is live on BT Sport. So there you go.
Mixing with the big boys.
So even though they've been relegated, I'm probably going to get to see them on TV more this season. So, which is crazy when you think about it.
Good update, Chris. And I think it's worth pointing out that we are gonna keep our association with Yeovil going next year. So, as part of the sort of EFL review, we will. Chris is going to be our roving reporter, aren't you, Chris, for the National League?
I'm going to try.
You're going to give us all the comings and goings in that league. But so Chris and I are planning to go to the Eastleigh, obviously because we're in Southampton. Eastleigh's local team for us when it comes to that division. So, as Chris said, it is towards the end of the season, but it is something we're going to go to. Hopefully, it will be a sort of a playoff battle or a promotion
not a
promotion
relegation.
6-pointer. Yeah, if it's a relegation 6-pointer, then we're in trouble. Maybe we won't go. Anyway, so anything else on transfers and that, Chris, or should we just talk about what's coming up next year?
Yeah.
Well, next season, not next year. So we've just obviously said about the National League, so we're going to keep an eye on Yeovil. We've got Pete's teaser is going to remain with us, so we'll be carrying that on into next season.
Rich has signed him on a year deal
for an undisclosed fee.
Yeah.
We've got the predictions challenge is back, but there's a few changes to it. So there's a new golden goal rule coming in.
The points are going to be a bit different as well, aren't they? To try and
even it out a bit.
So
before we had 5 points for a correct outcome, 10 points for a correct score. So we're going 3 points for a correct outcome, 5 points for the golden goal, and then 10 points for a correct score. So it will be slightly different, but the format will be the same. So there'll be 6 games. We have already got our 6 games for the first round. We just haven't got a guest yet. I don't believe, but same as last year. Anyway,
Jamie, isn't it?
Yeah, so Jamie won it last year, so we were going to ask him to go first, but that would be awful, wouldn't it, if he got the highest score again and went through the whole season. So that will be back, and then we've got a few other features that we're working on that hopefully will come into the podcast next season when we come back in August.
What was the date in August? It's like the 13th, isn't it? Let me have a look.
Yeah, so the first round of fixtures are on the 10th.
Well, 9th.
Yes. Yeah, so it's the Tuesday after. So that's sort of the week commencing the 11th or 12th. We'll be back. So teaser answer, Chris. Do you want to finish? We better finish with that.
Oh yeah, but I can't think of.
Right. Well, I'm going to go Sheffield United. I'm going Warnock. Because I think, was that not when they had the whole Tevez at West Ham thing that sent them down? That seems to be familiar. So I'm going to go Tevez for Sheffield United.
Tevez or Warnock?
Oh no, Warnock. Sorry. No, I'm going Warnock at Sheffield United. Have you got the unnamed search engine ready? Let me do it.
Is it the one that
I'm on it?
Oogle,
yeah. So I'm going Warnock for Sheffield United. What are you doing for Villa, Chris? There's four apparently.
4?
Yeah, so we've got to get one of them. Think caretakers. That there must have been at least one caretaker manager in there. Hold on.
Have you thought of something?
I think I thought of something. Who went in there at the end? Did he go to Villa from Spurs or Villa to Spurs? Tim Sherwood, I'm thinking. Now, did he? Because he was caretaker at Spurs, and then he went when Poch came in.
Maybe.
Did he go to Villa?
It would make sense.
Did he go to Villa or did he go to Blackburn? Or did he played for Blackburn, didn't he?
No, he went to Villa.
We got nothing else. We'll go Tim Sherwood. Norwich, I'm not sure on. You're going to have to...
Norwich, I think...
Well, it's relatively recent, wasn't it? So who was manager before who they've got now?
I can't even remember their manager now. It was the bold... what's his name? He didn't have a lot of hair.
Boldy?
Bold. It's not Boldy, is it? Name.
I'm out. I'm out on
You went to
Norwich.
another
I'm out on
championship
Norwich.
team.
I'm out on Norwich. I'm gonna go Warnock and Sherwood for the other two.
He didn't have a lot of hair. And he went on and managed another side afterwards. I think he got sacked pretty much when they got on it. I can't think of his name.
Okay, we'll
Alan? No.
Alan.
No, Alan.
We'll have to admit defeat on that one. Let's check the other two.
Right, Tim Sherwood was there. Yeah, Tim Sherwood was right. It was always
Who were the others?
Remy Gard?
No, I never would have got him.
Eric Black.
Nope.
And Kevin McDonald.
Nah. I wouldn't have got any of them.
Warnock was correct as well.
Yeah.
And the Norwich City. Oh, it's Alex Neil.
Oh. Well, you were nearly right with Alan.
I said Alan. No, I couldn't think of his name. Alex Neil.
He'll be forever known as Boldy on this podcast.
Boldy. I said he didn't have a lot of hair. You took the mick, not me.
I'll add him to the list with the Everton fans who are baying for my blood. Okay, so I think that's about it, Chris, for the summer special. Unless you've got anything else you want to add?
I don't have anything because Chelsea can't buy anyone. So.
No. Yeah, the transfer. That's why I try to involve you in the transfer section, because I know that you haven't really got an awful lot to talk about.
It's like an addict. I'm going to kill me.
I think it's probably worth just saying, obviously, that the podcast, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. We've obviously got the website. We're on YouTube. We really appreciate anyone who hits subscribe for us. We're really trying to build our subscribing numbers in the coming season and build on sort of what we did last year. We'll be as active as we can on social media, which we tried to do during the sort of summer break when we haven't been recording, just to sort
Rich has learnt how to use Instagram.
Try and keep relevant. I love Instagram. I love it. Just trying to build the followers around. So, anyone who listens, thanks for following us on any of our platforms. Again, however you listen to the podcast, it's appreciated. If you do listen through YouTube, please subscribe. That would also be very much appreciated. And we will speak to you again in August, when we would have had the first round of Premier League games, and we'll be a couple of games into the Championship season. So looking forward to it.
Yeah. So see you in August.
Bye-bye.